Have we started the YouTube stream then?
I believe that Lucas is just getting that underway. We should hear the verbal cue shortly.
Yep, okay to proceed.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Both online here at the Beanie. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the March 16 online meeting of the Edmonton Metropolitan Transit Services Commission Board of Directors. And just to remind everybody online that we are now recording this meeting. It's being live streamed on YouTube for the public's consumption. Today's board meeting is an online meeting, as I've stated, and participants are in their respective homes or places of work for the duration of the meeting. And we welcome all guests who have joined us today. As we start off all of our meetings, I would like to, on behalf of the board, we would like to acknowledge the traditional land on which we are gathered is Treaty 6 land. That's the home of the commission area. I'm currently not on Treaty 6 land, but that's where the commission is located. We would like to thank the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Blackfoot peoples. We also acknowledge this as the Métis homeland and home of the largest concentration of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. It is a welcoming place for all peoples who come from around the world to share the Edmonton metropolitan region as home. I say that I'm not on Treaty 6 land. I am on Treaty 6 land, but I happen to be on Vancouver Island right now. And I'm happy to report that the sun is shining. There is no snow on the ground, and it's a positive temperature around here. So for those who are at home in the Edmonton region, I'm sorry I'm not there to suffer along with you. Anyway, on to the agenda. We have the agenda before us. And then, of course, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Can I ask somebody to make this motion? Councillor Laurie, would you care to make that motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move that the March 16th, 2023 agenda be adopted as presented. Very good.
We use the raise the hand function to vote. I'll call a question. All in favor, please raise the hand. And I've got 1, 2, 3, and Stuart, maybe I'll ask for a verbal from you.
In favor, thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. All right. So that is passed unanimously. All right. Now, we have a consent agenda, which is simply the approval of the February 16th regular board meeting minutes. Would someone care to make that motion? Councillor Finstad?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the adoption of the consent agenda as presented. I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Fair enough. I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. Stuart, a verbal?
Affirmative.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Then that passes unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is to give the wind down activity update. And to that, I'll pass it over to you, Mr. Jankowski.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We are continuing with our remaining limited resources to affect the remainder of the wind down plan that you had approved and kind of endorsed. And really there are a few substantial pieces of work that are being undertaken or have been undertaken. What I can report is that as of this morning, we now have, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for the process of electronically executing the withdrawal agreement with Edmonton. We now have executed withdrawal agreements with both the City of Edmonton and the Town of Devon. Those agreements reflect the principles which you approved and directed us to ensure that they are included in those agreements on behalf of the Commission. And we now have those agreements in place, which really allow the board to take the final step that has been foreseen by the board, and which I anticipate we will have a discussion about going forward. In addition to that, I'm happy to report that the agreements with the City of Edmonton for assumption of the office lease here are drawing to a conclusion. Really the only outstanding issue that was at play. All the substantive issues have been negotiated with both the City of Edmonton as the assignee, along with the landlord as well. The landlord has approved the conditions or the clauses in a transfer agreement between the City of Edmonton and the landlord. And we are now ready to proceed with the execution of a three-party assignment agreement as well with all three parties. The outstanding issue was really the final date, and I anticipate that we'll be able to conclude that agreement. I'm hopeful tomorrow or very early next week. The two other remaining pieces of work have revolved around ensuring that we have an appropriate steward of the Commission's records, both the technical records and the personnel and financial associated records. And we have an agreement drafted now with the EMRB for having, in order to have the EMRB act as the custodian of those records after the eventual dissolution of the Commission. That agreement is close to being executed and finalized and executed as well. Again, the date of dissolution is a final factor that needs to be written into that agreement. And the last piece of work that we are also undertaking on your behalf is to put in place an agreement with a service provider to undertake the final financial transactional requirements and confirm and carry out the final transactional requirements once you have terminated the employment of all of the 4 remaining employees, which we will discuss the timing for that as well. So all of those activities are well underway. We are in good stead with all remaining wind down activities. We have also, in addition to those things, we have started to negotiate the final remaining third-party service provider contract terminations for those service providers, such as our technology supplier. So everything is coming together for the ultimate dissolution of the organization. Happy to answer any questions here, or as we perhaps move in camera as well.
Any questions for Mr. Jankowski? I have one, Paul, and that's simply so the agreements with the EMRB in terms of their requirement for managing the Commission documents. Can you copy the board with that? And the only reason why I say that is, 2-3 years down the road, somebody's it may not be well known that they're the custodians, and that it could be that either myself or any one of the board may be asked, where is this? And if we would have had a copy of that, it would be handy to have, I guess.
we can certainly distribute that amongst the board members. I think in addition to that, what I should have probably pointed out is that while the EMRB will be the custodians of both the technical and the financial and personnel records, the former, the technical records, and really all of the technical information, the substantial reports and so on, those will also, in addition to them residing at the EMRB, those will be distributed to your municipality as the members are the owners of those technical documents. And I draw a distinction between the technical documents and those personnel and financial records. The former will be distributed to all the 8 members along with residing ultimately at the EMRB. The latter will simply reside with the EMRB as our custodians.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough then. Just so long as somebody's got a record of that agreement in place. Yeah. So, all right, perfect. Any other questions from members of the board? Okay. Well, seeing none or hearing none, let's go on to the.
Sorry, Wes. Just a comment, if I might.
Of course.
I just want to thank Paul for his efforts in bringing this to a relative speedy conclusion and a favorable outcome for most of us involved. I just wanted to make sure that we were aware of that and the staff as well. So thank you, especially from us for taking the steps you took to make sure this got resolved in a timely manner.
Thank you. I appreciate that, but quite frankly, the vast majority of the work has been carried out by Lori, by Brian, and by Kathleen. So those 3 individuals really deserve the thank you of the board and the appreciation of the board. I certainly thank those 3 individuals. This was not an easy task to figure out how to do this in a sensible and conscientious manner, and it was complicated by some of the circumstances that we've had to work through, but I really truly appreciate the assistance of all 3 of those individuals, as well as with Lucas Warren, who's assisting and driving these very important last 2 meetings of the board. So thank you for that.
All right. Well, thank you. And you know what? I neglected to say this at the beginning of the meeting, but 2 members are by virtue of their travel or work commitments, so we're not able to join us today. Councillor Gromberg and Councillor Sam Munkoff-Swain. I did get a call from Councillor Munkoff-Swain yesterday, and I told him I would extend his apologies to the rest of the board for not being able to attend today. And I neglected to do that at the beginning. He felt quite bad about it because he actually wanted to be here for this particular meeting in particular. But the reality of work life, and we all know what work life is like, sometimes takes us away. So with that note, our next order of business is to, I believe, go in camera. Is that not right, Mr. Jankowski, or do we talk about?
There should be a motion first, I believe, that regarding the wind down activity update as information.
Do we have such a motion handy?
I believe it is on the screen.
Okay.
So let me make that quickly. So the board accepts the wind down activity update as information.
Fair enough. I accept that motion. Any opening comments then, Mr. Finstad or Councillor Finstad?
Not at this time, thank you.
All right, call the question. All in favor? Raise the hand. And Councillor Houston, a verbal?
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you. And that passes unanimously. All right, now we were going to talk about the date of the April board meeting. I'm sorry,
I think it'd be appropriate to move in camera, Mr. Chair.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Mr. Chair, I'd be prepared to move the motion that's on our screen relative to moving in camera in accordance with provisions of the FOIP legislation.
All right, call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. And Councillor Houston, a verbal?
In favor.
Thank you, and that carries unanimously. We'll give a few minutes to move in camera then, and we'll close down the feed.
Fair Broadhead, I'm just going to open the in-camera room, so if everyone could just accept that, and then we'll be in camera.
All righty then. So we'll join the breakout room. All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. We're back in public session now. We're going to give administration a few minutes to get the motion that we are going to consider.
We're ready. We're ready, Mr. Chair.
All right, fair enough. Then coming out of camera, we have one motion. If you could put that on the
Sorry, Chair, I
We
just need
were
one
ready.
1 minute, please.
It's all good. All right, so we have
You should see the
the
motion.
April board meeting. So I see the motion. Do we want to do the acceptance of the in-camera discussion as information? Would someone care to move that? And then we'll move on to the next motion.
I
Who
would so
would like-
move, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Councillor Harris. And the motion is that the board accept as information the materials as presented in camera. I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. And Councillor Houston, verbal.
All good?
All right, and that's passed unanimously. Thank you very much. And then we will go to the next motion. Councillor Knack, can I get you to make this motion, please?
Absolutely, yes. I will move that the board approved rescheduling of the April 6th, 2023 meeting of the board to April 13th, 2023.
Thank you very much, Councillor Knack. Any comments? All right, I'll call a question. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Houston is affirmative.
Perfect. All right, and that's passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, so just the last business for today then, Mr. Jankowski. Our in-camera discussion was virtually the process now of affecting the dissolution of this organization. And one of the requirements, of course, is to sign a written document or a written motion and present it to the 8 municipalities. So if you could effect that on the board's behalf, and we will respond to you with the affirmative use of our electronic signature. And then if you could distribute that as required in the notice of motion, and then we'll just continue on from there.
We will do so on your behalf on behalf of the board.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. That's the last item of business for the commission board today. Thank you, Ms. Alhant Lake, for being here and providing your wisdom as always. And to the staff and to the board of the commission, thank you. Thank you, Paul. And for the board members, we now stand adjourned, and have a great afternoon, everyone.
So long. Thanks very much.
Okay, bye now.